All right, what's happening, y'all? It's Rico from StreetScores, and whoa, breaking news for real, for real. The Washington Commanders just cut their starting center, Tyler Biadasz, bro. We have to dive into why they potentially did this. We got to dive into how much money they save. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to like the number, which also takes us to other points that we got to dive into. Most notably, who are some potential replacements? Again, this is your starting center. You already had needs. Now you just added a new one. Who are potential starting centers that we can get either in free agency and or the draft? We're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. If you catch my eye randomly wandering up, it's like I have the whole combine up here and I just can't help it. I'm seeing Sonny Styles going crazy, all that type of stuff. I apologize if my attention kind of, averts from the camera every now and then, but either way, make sure y'all stay tuned. Shouts out to Watch to the End gang. Shouts out to Noti gang, late night crew, early morning crew, all of that, man. Let's go ahead and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so Ian Rappaport was the first person I saw report on this. He said the Commanders are releasing starting center. Let's emphasize the word starting. This is not just some random guy. We are releasing our starting center, Tyler Biadasz, a source said. Another center available in free agency. The 28-year-old, he's not even that old when you think about it. He's not that old. He's like 3 years younger than Laramie Tunsil, 2 years younger than Terry. Has started 31 games over 2 seasons. And when you think about it, just taking a look at what the current roster has right now, of course, we're not going to go into the 2026 regular season with the roster that we have right now. We have free agency, we have the draft, we have potential trades we can look into, all kinds of stuff. This will be a completely different team. I'm telling you right now, by the time free agency and draft, all of that, by the time we get to training camp. But the only center left on the roster right now is, I guess, Nick Allegretti, even though later on we're going to dive into how Brandon Coleman may be the one they're targeting, even though, I mean, from starting left guard to backup tackle to center, really interesting. But either way, shouts out to Grant Paulson. He said it would be fascinating to see what the Commanders do at center. Tyler Biadasz had a fine year. He's not a star, but he was a solid starter you didn't have to worry about. Now, later on, after the break, we're going to dive into how actually you probably should have had to worry about him. Like, you probably had to worry about him a little bit more than Grant Paulson thinks. We're going to dive into that again later. I'm going to even show you a clip. But he finished up by saying, do they turn to Nick Allegretti, who backed up Tyler Biadasz? He's got 1 year left. Is there a free agent that they like? We're going to, of course, dive into that. Now, obviously, cutting Tyler Biadasz makes you worse today. There's no doubt about that. Whoever potentially could replace him currently on the roster, at the very least, doesn't have as high of a floor. They may have a higher ceiling, but today, we just got worse roster-wise. But I'm assuming that they must have some sort of an idea of who they want and who they will get, whether it be free agency or the draft, because you could have just waited until Tyler to cut him until after you already secured and signed his replacement. If you plan on getting one of the top free agent centers available, you could have waited until after the legal tampering period where you're allowed to actually talk to that guy and sign him and be like, okay, we're good. You coming to the Commanders? All right, now we can cut Tyler Biadasz. Now I understand cutting him early to do him a favor so that he can, he can hit the open market with plenty of time to prepare and all of that type of stuff. But Commanders wise, cutting them this early is very interesting. They must have a strong idea, a safe idea. Like, they must think it's very likely that whoever they're targeting as a replacement, they're going to get. Again, we already had a lot of other needs already. Now you just created a new one, an additional one. Shouts out to We Want Dallas. Pointed out the fact that there is not much cap savings in this. We're going to dive into this very soon. You don't just release a decent prime age starting center for no reason. Clearly, they must feel they can get an upgrade somewhere. Wonder if they have a productive chat somewhere with somebody's agent around the combine. Of course, the combine is like the one place where everybody, head coaches, GMs, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, scouts, agents. That's why most trades that go down, it's either the during the draft, but I think even more of them happen, or at the least the groundwork is set and started at the combine. So maybe whoever they plan on getting next, they've already had a talk with the guy's agent. Like, yeah, he's interested in coming to the Commanders. I'm gonna do a video on it. But like, we had the third best rank and grade out of all NFL teams from the NFLPA thing that got leaked, because now they're not allowed to release it to the public. But I already told y'all back when they announced that they were gonna no longer release it to the public that it's going to get leaked. It only takes one person. So I wasn't shocked at all when it got leaked. But I was happy to see that we were the third ranked team, and maybe with us being the third ranked team, and that's an NFLPA player survey, that's NFL players ranking us, maybe there is a center that's interested in coming to where we are because we have such great grades, and he thinks this offense could be great with Jaden Daniels and stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe we've already been recruiting the replacement. We'll see. But shout out to Mark Bullock. He did say this was a shocker. Starting center is now an immediate need, which is exactly my point. And John Kahn pointed out the fact that this only saves us $2.85 million worth of cap by cutting this guy. Right now is a pre-June 1st cut. But shouts out to Grant Paulson. He said, very surprising. Blvd is only 28 and played well last year. Again, we're going to dive into that. We can kind of push back on that a little bit. Missed one game in 2 years. Now, that's one thing. He's only missed one game in 2 years. That's my biggest, like, whoa, are you sure you want to do this? But as far as, like, his level of play, I'm not too shocked. But the availability, that's more so why I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But he said with the post-June 1st designation, instead of only saving $2.85 million this year, you would actually save $8.2 million if you do a post-June 1st designation. But mind you, that won't be until post-June 1st. That means these first couple of waves of free agency, and even immediately after the draft, you will not have that $8.2 million worth of cap savings to use elsewhere. So that's the disadvantage to cutting somebody after June 1st. You get more savings, you save more cap space, but you can't use it in March when, you know, free agency starts up, legal tampering period, March 10th. The free agency officially begins, the new league year, 4 p.m. on March 12th, all of that type of stuff. But Grant Paulson also said the dead money would be around 2.7 this year and 4.5 next year. But again, that's June 1st. It's even worse than that right now. So they must really not like Tyler Blvd and really like who they plan on bringing in to replace him. Shouts out to Joey Purvis on Twitter. He said a post-June 1st cut was only have $2.7 million worth of dead cap and $8.2 million worth of cap savings. I really hope that's the designation here. Also, why wouldn't they try to trade him? Shouts out to Mark Bullock. He said, I believe they can't designate him as a post-June 1st cut until the new league year anyway, so we won't know until March 12th after 4 p.m. if that's what we decided to do. Is it pre or is it post June 1st? But again, going back to the whole trade thing, Oblon also asked as well, did Washington even try to trade Tyler Blvd? Because that was also one of my first thoughts. Like, cut? You couldn't at least get a 7th round pick for him and maybe draft his replacement, or at least a potential replacement, a development project at center in the 7th round with the pick that you got back for him. But he's a starting center. I feel like you could at least get like a 5th or something, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know the market that well. I don't. Either way, I mean, I'm assuming they at least tried. The past couple of days at the combine, probably were getting no bites and just said, well, guess we just got to release him. And I'm assuming that David Blau definitely had some sort of say in this. You just have to assume that David Blau was one of the people that maybe not even just suggested it, but also at least signed off on it. Because maybe they were watching film from this past year, since everybody's been hired. Devontae Jones on the defensive side and David Blau on the offensive side, they're probably starting to see like, okay, these are guys I want to keep from last year, as far as guys that are free agents that we want to bring back, guys that are still currently under contract that we want to release, like Tyler Blvd. And maybe they watched the film and was like, yeah, I think we can move on from this guy. He doesn't necessarily fit what we want to do. Maybe it's a fit thing. Maybe it's just a pure talent and production thing. But, I mean, speaking of fit, we're transitioning to a more under center offense. And maybe Blvd just isn't a good fit for that. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen him in that role necessarily because we've been running a lot of shotgun with him this whole time. I mean, maybe he could have been good, but I guess they're assuming that he wouldn't. Or maybe even also another theory is that maybe there's some injury that he suffered that's probably worse than us fans know. Maybe there's something like that. I don't know. But shouts out to Mark Bullock. He said, I thought Blvd was excellent in 2024. Dropped off a bit in 2025, but still solid. Did not see this coming. Offensive line was one of the stable units on the roster and easily a top 2 strength. It's quarterback and offensive line. So it's interesting that you cut your starting center from, I felt like going into the season would have been a top 5 offensive line. He said, wonder if they have interest in Linderbaum, the free agent center from the Ravens, Tyler Linderbaum. Of course, we're going to dive into that later when we take a look at potential free agent options as a replacement. But Mark Bullock also said, I mean, there are far more obvious moves that they could have made for the cap, so it just can't be money. Because, again, you're only saving $2.9 million right now if it's pre-June 1st, and he will hit you for $8.1 million worth of dead cap. You're paying him $8 million to not be here, where you could have paid him a little around like $11 million for him to be here and play for you. You're, again, only saving less than $3 million, bro. And again, you're paying them $8 million to not be here, so it can't be for cap space. They must really have a great idea of who they're targeting as an upgrade. And it's hilarious too, because shouts out to top 7 pick Terry. He said, what did you do, Red Zone on the Lab? Because crazy enough, 6 hours ago, around there, maybe 7, Deuce Red Zone posted on Twitter, and I saw this too. It was like all the combine stuff going on. I was working on my Jeremiah Love video, saw the notification, and he was talking to Logan Paulson, asking, is Tyler Biadasz the future at center for the Commanders? And then I was kind of like, that's an interesting question. Like, I never really questioned it. I never thought about it. I just assumed Tyler Biadasz would be your starting center going into the season. I literally never imagined that he may end up getting cut at all. So Deuce Red Zone in the Lab brought that up. He talked to Logan Paulson, I think like yesterday or the day before that, asked him that question, and they talked about how Tyler Biadasz is entering his final year of his contract with an $11 million cap hit, so he offered extending him. And then Logan Paulson also came back and said, well, there's some day 3 center prospects we can get. You know, you extended Tyler Biadasz, or if you don't, you just let him play on the final year of his deal, and then you draft a day 3 center, and then again, Logan Paulson offers a name there, and then like that guy's learning under Tyler Biadasz for 2026, and then maybe, hopefully, best case scenario, he's ready to start for you in 2027, but nope, the Commanders decided to cut him out. Right, and again, I mean, it's just crazy because it seems like Deuce Red Zone kind of jinxed it. He even said on Twitter, well, my bad, raise hell though. But I mean, he literally did a whole video. Actually, it's back on February 18th. Caleb Downs versus Jeremiah Love at Pick 7, a whole podcast for this. I highly suggest y'all check it out. And a day 3 center option. So he already kind of had the foresight like, hey, man, we may need to be looking at finding a new center to start for us for the future. The only thing is, it seems like most of us didn't know it would have to happen now. We need a starting center now, not for 2027 and beyond. No, for 2026, this upcoming season and a few months. Now, before we dive into how Tyler Biadasz may have actually been worse than a lot of us originally thought, and some potential options as far as replacements for free agency in the draft. Before we get there, man, shouts out to Sleeper, man. Make sure you stick around with Sleeper and make money year round. Even though football is over for now, we still have March Madness and the NBA playoffs, baseball, hockey, all of that type of stuff, even more sports than that. And just because football is over doesn't mean that you can't keep having fun and making money with Sleeper. And also, they just keep on innovating and making the app even better by the week, better by the month. Now Sleeper has even recently added team picks. You can now choose which team wins overall matchups as well, on top of the already individual player stats that you could have chosen from. And even though I rock with my dog Ant over there with them Timberwolves, and I rock with my Hawks on the slick just a little bit, but y'all Wizards are looking like they are building something really special over there right now. And 2026 and beyond is looking very bright for the Wizards. But even right now, like you can see on the screen, you can select who you think will win this NBA championship coming up in a couple of months. And even if you want to go even further, you could even select who you think is going to win the 2027 Super Bowl after the 2026 season. If you feel like the Commanders of that team, you can go ahead and do that right now. I mean, if you're some type of profit, go ahead. But the earlier the better for maximum profit. And also, as you can see right now, I mean, even the comment sections have their own thing going on. This is own world. They're hilarious just by themselves. Like they did Jerry Jones dirty right here with this one. And still, even right now, new users can get a free $20 without a deposit on top of the already 100% match up to $100 using my promo code SCORE, that's SCORE. Or to make it even easier for you, you can just click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video and live stream I'm doing all season long. Again, shouts out to Sleeper. Make sure you pull up for the new Team Picks feature. Definitely worth it. Now let's get back to the video, man. All right, so let's dive into it. First of all, shouts out my boy Sidonia Av on Twitter at KMB More X. He said people will complain about the move, but he was low-key a weak link on the line last year, and I can agree with that. Now, I'm probably a little bit higher on him than a few people that I'm gonna quote, for the next couple of minutes. But I would agree, out of the 5 starting offensive linemen we had, Tyler Biadasz was I would say the least good, not the worst, because I did still like Tyler Biadasz. I thought he was decent. I thought he was at least above average, somewhere around solid, but not great. You know what I'm saying? I'm never mistake them for being great, especially off of what he did in 2025. He was definitely better in 2024. But I do have to admit, out of the 5-star defensive linemen, Laramie Tunsil, Chris Paul, and I'm projecting Brandon Coleman to take over as your starting left guard, and then Tyler Biadasz in the middle, Samuel Cosmi right guard, and Josh Connolly right tackle, especially as we got later into the season when Josh Connolly started to really develop and blossom. Tyler Biadasz was the weak link of the offense. But again, I wouldn't call him the worst part of the offense because I still liked them. I would just say the least good. And if there were one person from the starting offense last year that you would be okay letting go if you had to choose one, it probably would have been Tyler Biadasz. And then shouts out to Bleeding Burgundy and Gold. He brought up the tweet that he had from November 2nd of last year talking about Tyler Biadasz sucks, bruh. I used to say mid, but I've seen enough. I'm ready to move on. And then he also quote tweeted that by saying AP must have saw enough as well. Then you have Hail to the Reds on Twitter. He said, good move. He was getting dog walked last year. His film versus Green Bay was atrocious. I do remember that Green Bay game. I'm not going to lie. Shouts out to my dog, Rio Robinson. Make sure you subscribe to him and everything. Also subscribe to Bleeding Burgundy and Gold as well. He said, I don't care about no Pro Football Focus grade. I saw Biadasz with my eyes last season, and he basically was not good. Because if you go look at Pro Football Focus, they felt like he was the 11th best center in the NFL. And I can agree. When you go look at the tape, it didn't feel like that. He was a top 5, top 10 center in 2024, but 2025, it didn't really feel like that, especially towards the end of the year, bro. They have him ranked 11th with a 70.7 overall grade. He was 12th in run block grade with a 71.2 and 18th with a pass block grade with a 67. Now, I could definitely see that, where like his pass protection was worse than his run blocking. I do at least agree with that, but I don't think he was as good as Pro Football Focus grades are saying he were. And then shouts out to Burgundy Manders for this clip right here. This is enough. Yeah, of course you have the Jalen Carter clip where Jalen Carter smacked him in the face and then he fell down and Jada Daniels is just cooked food, just waiting there to get obliterated by the Eagles defensive line because of it. But then you also have this clip right here from Green Bay, going back to that same Green Bay game that we were talking about, where, I mean, he just allowed Jaden to get obliterated, and this was the beginning of the end of the season, you could argue. Like, Tyler Biadasz looked like he tried to Willie Beeman Jaden Daniels on that play. Like he tried to play it off, but he wanted to set Jaden up to get hurt. Like, did Jaden do something to him? That's how bad that clip looks. But either way, moving on from that, now let's dive into some potential free agency options that we can get into. First of all, the biggest name on the market, soon to be 26 years old, but currently as of today, 25 years old. I think he turns 26 in like April or something like that. Tyler Linderbaum from the Baltimore Ravens, who's coming off of his rookie contract and is expected to get a market value of $17.7 million per year. I'm going to assume that it may actually end up being more than that. But Tyler Linderbaum is definitely the biggest name available in free agency, especially according to Spot Track. But we also have another guy that just recently got cut that is not included in the Spot Track list that we will get to soon because they don't have his market value just yet. Even though they do have him on the list, they have him all the way at the bottom because they don't have a market value for him. He just got cut yesterday. We're going to dive into that soon. But you also have Connor McGovern, the center from the Buffalo Bills, who's 28 years old. That's not crazy old, but, you know, decent, not like a great starter. I'd probably choose Tyler Biadasz over him, me personally. But I got to watch a lot more tape. I want to go back and watch more Tyler Biadasz tape to see, like, oh, okay, maybe he was worse than I thought. And then, I mean, by the time that this got announced and I'm recording this video, I didn't have enough time to really watch a lot of center tape. I didn't go into this offseason assuming we need centers. I just already know from watching Ravens games that Tyler Linderbaum is good, from watching Bills games that Connor McGovern McGovern is straight, you know what I'm saying? But I haven't had the chance to watch all 22 on this list of available centers. Same thing with the draft. We're going to dive into some names, and I'm going to give you some names, but I don't have any real analysis for these guys. I guess I got to lock in and watch some center draft tape now, and some guys that we could potentially target in day 3, because we already know day 1 and 2, we only have a first round pick and a third round pick. We don't have a second nor a fourth. You're taking more than likely an elite defensive player or a Jeremiah Love at 7, and then 71, I'm assuming, based off of the way that the free agency market looks for receiver, you're more than likely going best receiver available at 71 out, if I had to guess right now. And so the only time you could even try to take a center is on day 3. So I'm going to start looking at some day 3 prospects. Maybe I'll look at some guys that may be available in the 3rd round, but I feel like it's kind of pointless for the reasons I've already explained. So again, just let you know, I'm not hip on the best centers available in free agency in the draft, but just to read off some names just based off of like their market value ranked, what Spot Track expects them to get them with the next contracts. You have Cade Mays from the Carolina Panthers next up, who's about to be 27 soon. Then you have Ethan Pochik, I hope that's how you pronounce that last name, I apologize if I got it wrong, from the Cleveland Browns. Then you have James Daniels, from the Miami Dolphins, but he's technically like a guard, but he can kind of, go back and forth between center. He kind of like a flex option there. And I mean, after that, it's a bunch of names, but it's none I'm interested in to start for us instead of Tyler Biotish. And shouts out to Paul Williams. He said, we land Lindenbaum, we moving furniture next year, and I know that. Now, that's one thing. Tyler Lindenbaum, now I can admit, I think he's a little overhyped. Like, I think because he is the best center available, people are overhyping him a little bit as far as free agency goes. Just because he's the best guy available doesn't mean he's great. Like, I would not say Tyler Lindenbaum is a top 5 center, but that boy can run block. His pass protection is a little weak, but that run blocking is insane. But I even heard from like a Ravens podcaster sometime like a week ago saying that he's not great as far as like pre-snap stuff, like identifying certain things audible. So I don't know how that would go as far as us bringing him in with that. I forgot what show it was. I think I was listening to some draft thing. I wish I could remember, but he was saying that like Tyler Linderbaum isn't that good. I was watching like a ranking of the top free agents at every position. One of those random YouTube videos I was watching while I wasn't even home. And it was a Ravens reporter saying like Tyler Linderbaum is not as good as people act like he is. And I do agree from the little bit I've watched of him. He's solid. And I think he's a solid starter, but my problem is I think he's going to get way overpaid, and I don't think we should go out there and try to outbid other teams for him. But we'll see. But Tyler Linderbaum is, again, a great run blocker at the very least. Like, we are running the ball. You sign Tyler Linderbaum as your starting center. And then also, like I foreshadowed earlier, just yesterday, the Titans released Lloyd Cushenberry if we want to go that route. Now, I would argue that Tyler Linderbaum is maybe a little bit better than Lloyd Cushenberry, but I think he's probably second best as far as available centers on free agency, and maybe he won't cost nearly as much as a Tyler Linderbaum. We'll see. But shouts out to Mike Hall of Burgundy's Own. He said Tyler Linderbaum, maybe? A vet center that crossed over with Blau at some point and is familiar with what he's going to be running. That's a good point, too. He has under center experience. He has crossed paths with David Blau at some point. Maybe that could work. He said, other than that, I don't know what they do to address center. So Tyler Linderbaum is like the obvious number one answer that's available. Again, I would love Tyler Linderbaum. It's just not for the price that I think he's going to end up getting. That's me personally. But shouts out to the Podfather. He said of the same Burgundy Zone show, a good draft to be needing a center, I'll tell you. So that makes me a little happy to know that, like, hey, if you ever needed a center, this is a good draft to get one. So, hey, they picked a good time to go ahead and try to find a new center, I guess. Shouts out to Ken Johannesson. He said, indeed. He probably won't be selected, but I do think Zun is an option. My guess is that the position will be filled by free agency. Peters has a plan, and that is the first big move in that direction. So let's take a look at some names. I mean, according to NFL Draft Buzz in his rankings, they have Jake Slaughter from Florida as the number one center, projected to go average overall rank when you are compiling all of the different big boards and doing averages to around our pick at 71. Maybe they go there, literally 71 and a half. That's his average big board rank when you put all of the big boards everywhere together. Then you have Connor Liu ranked below that, but he has them projected to maybe go somewhere in the second round, late second. Then you have Sam Hecht, maybe. You have a Parker Brailsford from Alabama. You have Logan Jones from Iowa. I love Iowa's offensive lineman. Same thing with Missouri. They usually produce a good offensive lineman with Connor Tollison. You have Matt Gublin. I hope that's how you pronounce that name. So now I want to scroll down and find this Zun guy that Ken Burgundy was talking about. Where's the Zun? I don't even see him on the NFL Draft Buzz top centers available. I don't even see a guy by the last name Zun. So that's interesting. Maybe that's like a super sleeper 7th round guy. I'm gonna have to check him out just off of the recommendation there. But now Deuce Red Zone also offers this clip. He said, remember this? Brandon Coleman potentially moving to center. This is 50 seconds of Dan Quinn talking about Brandon Coleman potentially moving to center again. Shouts out to Deuce Red Zone for bringing this back up.
A good talk. Yes, I'm glad you brought up Brandon about the timing and the information. And so he did start the first 2 games at left guard, and that timing's different. He missed a good bit of training camp in terms of the punch timing and where to go. And so then being out, Chris jumped in, and then we started moving me at other spots, including like a jumbo tight end. So I think what he's shown, and he's learned a lot here in year 2, one about himself, like this is a resilient guy that can, do a lot of things based on his athleticism. Him learning and going through the hard moments, it sucks when you're going through it, but it also, you gain some confidence knowing there's a number of things I can do. We saw him snap and pull in practice the other day and said, makes it look easy and that type of athleticism. But I think it's the resilience that he's shown this year when it hasn't gone right, that you still find the lessons in it.
So maybe there's that, even though I project out Brandon Coleman to be our starting left guard, but maybe they've re-signed Chris Paul. He just started left guard, and then Brandon Coleman just started in center. I mean, that's an interesting theory there. Shouts out to Ryan Fowler before we get up out of here. He said Tyler Biadasz allowed just 4 sacks on 1,270 pass pro snaps for Washington in 2 years. That's pretty solid. Solid presence in the ground game as well. Still only just 28 years old. Obvious that Washington has a plan, but absolutely a head scratcher. He said free agency wise, away from Linderbaum. So he's already like, yeah, we're not about to outbid anybody for him. Connor McGovern, Cade Mays, and Ethan Pochik, some of the names that I've already listed. And then he said draft-wise, Sam Hecht from Kansas State, Connor Lew from Auburn, Logan Jones from Iowa, James Brockermeyer from Miami, or Brian Parker II from Duke. So those are just some names to put out there, because I have homework to do. Now I got to go watch tape on these guys. I wanted to give you the list that I'm going to start with as well. So y'all, if y'all want to watch tape, that's a good list to start with. I trust Ryan Fowler and some of the other people that gave references. My boy Ken Johannesson, Burgundy Burner over there with the Zun guy. Got to find out who that is. I don't even know the guy's first name. But out of the way, whoever they get to replace Biadasz better be fine. Because again, he was solid. Not great, but solid and fairly dependable, again, just off of the fact that he only missed 1 game in 2 seasons, only 4 sacks in 2 seasons. And Jaden already had an ugly supporting cast around him last year, and he's trying to bounce back to being an elite quarterback. So you have to get this center thing right. Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, David Blau, and our new offensive lines coach, whose name is slipping my mind right now. Either way, please be right, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video, especially for those of y'all that made it all the way to this point where I'm still talking. If you can still hear me and see me right now, I appreciate you. Shouts out to my watch to the end gang. I really appreciate you and thank you personally. Shouts out to Noti Gang that are on these videos immediately no matter when I release them. But shouts out to the late night crew putting in the vampire hours and the early morning crew putting in that first shift. I really appreciate all y'all. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything. Let me know if you agree, disagree with any of my points, any of the points that I brought up from anybody else. Let me know if you've already done your homework on free agency centers and draft centers or potential replacement wherever, maybe even some trade options. I don't even have those because I mean, we only have a 1st and a 3rd round pick, so I didn't even consider trade options. But let me know how you would solve this. First of all, let me know how you feel about us cutting Tyler Biadasz. Let me know if you think it's a pre-June 1st or a post-June 1st, and then also let me know who are your favorite options to replace him as our starting center. And if that includes somebody that's already on roster, Nick Allegretti, or maybe even a Brandon Coleman, let me know that. But of course, leave a like on the way out. Make sure you subscribe to the content. I'm gonna have y'all covered with everything. I can't wait to get this Jeremiah Love video. I keep trying to work on it. Something else happens. But I appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.